There are mixed feelings as I make my way to Executive Athlete Club to commence my 24-week journey. There's a blend of excitement, nerves, anxiousness, and awareness of the very personal data that's about to be revealed. I'm excited to get started, but I'm incredibly nervous too.
Russell, Jordan, good to see you. Good to see you.
Welcome down.
Yeah, good to be here. I'm nervous, I'm going to be honest.
I think everybody's going to be nervous walking in.
Having just done the pieces in the car outside, it's suddenly become real what's happening on the next 24 weeks. How I fit it in, food I might not be eating, I've got so many questions, the weight that's going to show up on the stuff, so be kind.
Let's get to it. So this is taking a weight measurement. We're now going to create your profile. If you grab here for me please. Breathe as normal, stand nice and tall. What's happening now is it's sending harmless shock waves through the hands and feet. So on the screen we've got weight, skeletal muscle mass, which we'll talk about, percentage body fat, ECW ratio, and leg lean mass. Okay, so we've got our in-body scan done. One of the most comprehensive body composition reports that we can get.
Yeah.
We're going to review the data and the numbers now. As I'm going through any of it, ask me any questions.
Yeah.
Anything that doesn't make sense, just let me know. It's so important that we have this first scan so we can actually monitor and measure the work and effort that you are making is resulting in real and meaningful change alongside how you're feeling as well.
Okay.
So if we open up the detail tab, the first number we're presented with is your in-body age. So currently you are 47 years young.
Yeah.
Based on your body composition report, it's saying that you've got the body of a 50.7-year-old.
See that? That hurts. Okay.
And again, like we mentioned,
and this is genuinely accurate stuff. This isn't like the Wii Sports board at home years ago when if I worked on a bit of core, I could get my age down to 23. This is all based on your data, the sciences.
so the gold standard of body composition is a DEXA scan.
Okay.
The in-body machine that we use is 99% accurate to a DEXA. DEXA is the one that they use in hospitals,
right,
where it's done through an X-ray.
Okay.
This is 99.9% accurate to that DEXA scan. And with the in-body, we have the latest medical grade model on the market.
Okay.
So the information is very, very specific and consistent.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing is when we go through this process and you can see that your in-body age starts to get younger and you can correlate that with how you're feeling, there's a reason why people talk about exercise taking years off your age, because of how your physical body feels.
It's a literal thing.
It's a literal thing.
Okay.
Your body will show up, the numbers will show up in a much different positive way as we start affecting real changes with body composition.
Okay.
Your in-body score is 63 points. So in-body score goes up over 100 points. Typically where we want our clients to be when we look at the absolute optimal level is 90 plus points.
Okay.
We look at very good being between 85 and 90 and good being between 80 and 85.
This is beginning to feel a lot like my old school reports. Much more effort needed. It's really the thing written at the bottom.
When we, again, bringing this back to the business, when we see the numbers in front of us, we're confronted with the reality of what do we actually need to do to impact these numbers to get them to a much better place.
Yeah.
And just know we can, as we begin to go through this program and you see these improving, it's going to be a really powerful position to be in.
Okay. What's
really interesting about the body composition scanner as well, we've got segmental analysis. So this shows where your body distributes your skeletal muscle mass.
Okay.
So if we look at the data,
I guess that's the first question. Skeletal?
Yep.
So what is that?
That is muscle that is attached from bone to bone.
Okay.
We talked about that at the start being the organ of longevity.
Okay.
Building muscle and building our reserves as high as we can is one of the most important things we can do with the aging process.
Okay.
We always want to be over muscled or have adequate levels of muscle. The great thing about your sporting background and your early introductions to strength and conditioning, to playing rugby at a high level, is you actually have good levels of skeletal muscle mass.
Okay.
So when we look at your lean body mass, CJ, you can see that you hold 32.5 kilos of skeletal muscle mass in your trunk. So trunk is measured from your shoulders to your waist.
Okay.
In your left arm and right arm, symmetry is actually perfect, 4.38 kilos in your left arm and right arm.
I'm rather relieved about that, or there'd be some crude jokes made by some of my male friends.
There's often, they get dropped in here a few times as well. And then we've got left leg and right leg, so there's actually a bit of a discrepancy from your left leg and your right leg.
Okay, so I'm right-footed, that's my dominant leg, but my right knee, I did have 2 full knee reconstructions on.
Did you rehab it as well?
Yeah, so the first time I did it, I did the anterior cruciate ligament, I tore the medial meniscus and I actually fractured the patella. The second time it was a ruptured ACL, and then I've had surgeries both times, full recovery and all the rest of it. And then I in the rehab, I worked quite hard on trying to put more muscle back into the quad, because when I broke the kneecap, I was in a leg-long cast, and when I came out of it, I was shocked at how slim the leg was.
So what tends to happen there after an injury as severe as that is people place a large emphasis on getting it back to fight and fit condition, sometimes at the expense of the other leg. So we can see from this data that you've actually rehabbed that leg quite well.
Okay.
But we've potentially left the left leg lagging a wee bit.
Okay.
As we go through this program, we're going to talk a lot about strengthening each limb on an individual basis, because that's so important. We don't want to have an over dominance on one side.
It's fascinating. I would never have thought that to be the case, right? Even now I sort of labour a bit on my right leg, but I think that's more nervousness about the histories with it. But that's fascinating.
When we look at body fat distribution now.
Wow. Do we really need to look at this? Because there are some big numbers.
When we confront this and we see the numbers and the data, the feeling that you're going to get when we go through this program and you see these numbers being impacted in the way you want them to be impacted, that is what drives long-term motivation, consistency and showing up. And like I said, I'm going to keep saying it, the first scan has less importance than the trajectory that we're going to go on. Okay. And as painful as it can be for people when they look at these numbers, it can act as a catalyst for real life change and transformation.
I mean, that's the reality of it, isn't it? I mean, if I take the personal out of it for a moment, the data says I have to do a lot about this. I mean, there are health risks if I don't get my act in order here. Those numbers are quite punchy, quite high.
Yeah. If we look at the trunk, we're holding 22.7 kilograms of body fat. Based on your needs, that is over 530.3% of what we actually need and want there. Again, as we go through this, the powerful piece with InBody is we can actually track where you're losing body fat from. Okay. So you can see that the effort that you're doing is resulting in, I've lost 2 kilo off my trunk in the last month. In 8 weeks, I've lost 6 or 7 kilo off my trunk. We can see that body fat coming down as we continue to scan and assess.
So when you said to me weeks ago when we first started talking about this, we got to fix what people look at as a metric of success in weight loss, and it's not just about the scale number going down. This is some of what you were inferring to. There are key indicators here that will show impact progress that without this data I would be blind to, right?
Completely. When we look at just measurement scales on the floor, we're only getting such a small understanding of what somebody is doing with their weight. There is no body composition data when it comes to measurement scales on the floor, so we could actually be losing muscle, bone density, which leaves us in a worse off position. As we go through this process, we want to retain as much of your skeletal muscle mass as possible and just drop body and visceral fat. Okay. And that is why this data is so important, because without that data, we don't actually know what we're losing, or in some cases, what we're gaining.
Okay. So the muscle good, visceral fat bad.
Yeah, we're going to move into visceral fat now. So this is what we call subcutaneous body fat. This is the fat that you can grab and pinch. Visceral fat is a different beast altogether, which I'm going to explain. So if we look at muscle fat analysis, complete body weight is 114.2 kilograms. So we can see where that places on the percentile. If we click into any of these, it shows us where we're at with people at our age demographic and our gender. So we can see what weight actually means. We can see that we're at 92.6%. So the bottom 8 percentile. If we go to body fat mass, we can see that of that 114.2 kilo, 43 kilos is made up of body fat mass, but 40.3 kilos is made up of skeletal muscle mass. So you can see when it's green, it's positive.
Okay.
When it's red, we've got some work to do. So our priority here, as we go through this process and journey, we want to keep this number, 40.3 kilos, as consistent with that number as possible, but we want to drive down body fat mass and overall body weight.
It's eye-opening. It's a reality check, and it just underlines the fact that if anyone's in a similar scenario shaped to me, who's a business leader, you need to go and get yourself checked out, because there's some underlying data here which is saying I'd be really naive if I carried on bumbling along as I was, being, whether it's ignorance or not wanting to understand it, or just I'm going to focus on the business, and I'm going to throw all efforts into it.
It's so worrying and disappointing to hear when I spoke to people in the past who sacrifice so much of their life to accumulate wealth at the expense of their health. They think about getting to a certain point of their life where they're going to enjoy their wealth, but by that stage their health's been compromised and they're not in a position to do the things that they thought they were going to be able to do.
Okay.
So we look at this where it talks about your body shape. So we've got above average, morbidly obese C type. So we've got weight, skeletal muscle mass and body fat mass. That has created a C shape. What we want to do is get this to a D shape over time. So C stands for cause for concern.
Okay.
I stands for balanced and D is developed. So D is what we call an athlete body shape. There is a short description here which explains it in more detail.
Okay.
But in theory what we want to happen is skeletal muscle mass to stay where it's at, drive down the weight, drive down the body fat mass. That will then create an A shape, and then eventually over time create that D shape.
We often hear that when we go for medical checks, obesity comes into it, and anyone that's done any form of training carrying a bit of muscle, it's suggested that you wrongly fall into the obesity category, but this is showing I really am well into the obese category.
When we go to the next set of data points, we can see percentage body fat is at 37.6%. For males within our program, we talk about optimal being between 10 and 15%. 15% is very sustainable and consistent, where people can have amazing physicality, so they can feel great, look great, but still enjoy certain things in life that they want to enjoy. We want to make really consistent progress towards that 15%, which is more or less cutting that number by over half. And the thing I'll say to you is we can definitely do that. Within a 24-week time frame, we would look to lose anywhere from 1 to 2 kilo per week.
Okay.
So by the end of 24 weeks, we're looking at being in a considerably better place by the time we get to the end of this program.
Do you know, when I came down the hotel for breakfast this morning, they had all the breakfast food laid out, and my first thought was, God, that looks really appealing. Every time I look at stuff like that now, I'm gonna be having nightmares about that body fat percentage number.
The thing that you've done is you've confronted it. A lot of people don't confront it, and it's just unfortunate that they don't, because there's a whole different way of experiencing life, and we're going to work on that together.
Okay.
So we're going to look at the abdominal obesity analysis. Visceral fat is what I want you to pay attention to. So we talked about body fat.
Yeah.
Visceral fat is more dangerous than body fat, subcutaneous body fat. Visceral fat is the fat that surrounds the organs. Okay. It's hard and it's yellow and it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Anything over 10 increases risks of heart disease and cardiovascular disease by up to 500%. I'm going to show you an image now, so we obviously can see where our visceral fat is at. Where I would love us to get to in 24 weeks time is get that as close to 10 as possible, but within a year, get that under 10.
Okay.
So if we look at an image that shows visceral fat around the intestines.
That's all the yellow stuff.
Yeah. It's where you can grab subcutaneous, where it's a little bit soft and it's spongy. Visceral fat is hard, yellow fat that is not soft and spongy. So we can see the difference that has on our internal organs.
So this is going to be a real contributory factor to really bad gut health problems.
Exactly. And if we look at it around the heart, we can see the impact it has on that. And again, the reason why we show this to our clients is sometimes the visual, along with the numbers and the data, can really help people understand where they're actually at, and that can act as such a powerful catalyst for change and transformation.
I remember seeing, when I was at school, 15, 16, we were shown images of lungs from smokers and the impact it was having. And I still today can see that blackened image. And they were showing us the smoke going into a bottle so that we could visualise how much smoke. It's something that I've carried with me, and one of the reasons why I've been a non-smoker. That is just as poignant. Okay, well look, we've got to do things about it, haven't we? There's no getting away from it, because that's alarming. I can either accept it, acknowledge it, own it, now do something about it, or wallow in self-pity, and I don't really do self-pity.
No, and the piece I want you to visualise is how exciting and energising life's going to be when we get this to a great place, and the process that we're going to go along and understanding what optimal actually looks like. There is some inflammation in the body as well.
Okay.
So ECW ratios extracellular water. So with having high levels of visceral fat, inflammation can be quite prevalent as well.
Okay.
We would look to see that number drop down.
So that's what I'm carrying water where it shouldn't be.
Yeah, water retention.
Okay.
Yeah, which is often a sign of inflammation.
Okay.
So one of the most important and powerful pieces when we begin to exercise, we start to lose inflammation in our body, because our body gets better at regulating a lot of our hormones.
Okay.
And allows us to show up in a much better way.
Right, okay.
We then look at basal metabolic rate. So that is your metabolism. If you were to wake up and spend 24 hours at complete rest and not move, for your body to stay as it is, it needs 1908 calories to stay there. We're then going to look at what your actual overall calorie burn on a daily basis is, and align your nutrition as we move on from this piece.
Okay. So when we hear things like men 2,500 calorie, that's just an arbitrary number, then it differs for everyone.
It differs. There is guidelines that can be accurate in some degrees, but we're going to work out an actual specific and bespoke precision nutrition plan for you based on your current lifestyle, current goals we're going to set, and then what that's going to look like on a daily basis.
Good, okay.
So again, if we look at body type, it shows us where we place in this percentile. What we want to do is drive this number as far left as possible and get this over to athletic.
Okay.
Think back to that feeling when you were playing rugby at your best, where you were lean, fit, healthy, that shape, that energy, that physicality that you have. That's what we want to connect and tap back into.
Okay.
So this is all really good as well. Body balance evaluation. So upper left to right limb is balanced.
Okay.
Lower limb, left to right leg is balanced, which is really good considering the operations that you've had previously. And then upper and lower is balanced. So we always want to maintain that good consistency and muscular strength and bone density from left to right limbs, and then upper and lower limbs as well.
Good.
Protein within our body's in a good place, and that speaks to the skeletal muscle mass that you have.
Okay.
And then another really important metric is bone mineral content. Bones are strong as well, so it's in the green. With resistance training, it is one of the most powerful ways we can prevent things like osteoporosis and brittle bones. When we perform resistance training, it causes an impact called microfractures in our bones. We basically lift weights, our bones become stronger from that, and we continually do that so they become stronger again and again.
Okay.
And then one of the most important numbers, if not the most important, is whole body phase angle.
Yeah.
So the guys at InBody said they could take away every single metric they have and just keep whole body phase angle. it is the health of the cells within your body. So typically that number runs from 1 to 10. The highest we've ever seen is 7.8. Yours is obviously at 6.2, which isn't a bad score, by the way. Anything over 6 is deemed okay. We would look that number to go closer to 7 as we move through this program.
Okay.
Why this number is so powerful is typically people that are going through chemo or radiotherapy will be under 4 because of the impact that cancer has on cell health. So 6.2 is a good starting position, but we want to build on that as we go forward. What impacts that is lifestyle, nutrition, hydration, getting fresh air, being able to recover, exercise, stress management, all of the things that we know.
Okay.
With our history tab, we're going to have a plot of all of our starting points. So as we get to go through this program, we'll see in real time how these numbers begin to impact and the trend that they start to show.
Okay. So this is the chart I'm going to start to obsess about.
Yep.
Right.
This is your literal health, fitness and body composition KPI chart. This is going to show exactly the progress that we're making, what we're actually improving, what actually needs attention and needs addressing, but where the gains and where the wins are.
Okay.
And if we click across to ranking, often we talk about when we work with our business executives, top 1% business, top 1% body is what we should be optimizing for. So we want our guys to focus on how can we create that 1% body. It shows the percentile where you place on this data chart. So InBody have over 140 million live data points, so it's a massive database of numbers. And typically people who are using InBody are going to be people who are exercising. So this shows where you place on that percentile for males between 40 and 50 years of age.
Okay.
How's all of this felt and how's it settling?
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to lie. I mean, there's some numbers on there that I wish I'd never see. And I mean, on one hand, there's the kind of the shock, the concern element, particularly when you see those images about the heart. You've got to do something about it. But part of the thing that really turned my head with the Executive Athlete Club was the sports sciences data, the best-in-class biometric systems that you've got. It puts a tangible data to it. It takes the subjective out of things. And in my profession, we work in tangible data all the time, right? And I'm regularly talking to clients about tangible data and now what do we do with it? How do we enact? How do we go forward? It's a reality that I've got to do a bit of strategic work on myself.
So what we're going to focus on now, CJ, we call this the ramp model.
Yeah.
Before every main session, you're going to do the ramp model. 4 letters. R stands for raise.
Yeah.
So we're going to raise blood flow, heart rate, and core temperature.
Okay.
You're going to feel your body start to get a little bit warmer here.
Yeah.
On a 1 to 10, just give me an effort of a 4 to 5.
Okay.
10 being maximal, 5 being in between. Just give me a 4 or 5.
Okay.
So once you're feeling warm and I want your body to start heating up.
Yeah.
We're then going to go into activation. So we're going to activate core muscles, posture muscles, and glute muscles.
Okay.
We're then going to go into mobilization. So we're going to open up the joints so the body's in a better position before we start exercising. And then we're going to finish with some power. After we finish the ramp process, we're then going to go in and teach you some movements on how this whole program is going to work with the movements that I'm going to teach you today.
Okay.
As we go through this program, we're going to look at your VO2 max. We're definitely not going to look at it today because we want to start building some momentum.
Yeah.
We want to increase your levels of physical fitness before we look at the VO2 max.
Okay.
And this is the process you're going to follow with every session you do with us at the ASE.
Yeah.
Is the ramp model, and then we're going to move into our main session.
Okay.
So we've just finished the raise.
Yeah.
We're going to move into activation now.
Okay.
So with activation, what we want to emphasize is just switching on the important muscles that we need for our main session. So really focusing on the breath and focusing on feeling your core muscles. Brilliant. Control on the way down. Take a big breath in at the bottom. Push your elbows into the floor. Curl up. Brilliant. And last one. Excellent. Before we swap sides, where did you feel that and how did it feel?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Really good. All we want to do is bring some sensation into that core area and start switching it on. hands under shoulders, knees under hips. So think about a cat. I want a big arch in your spine. Now I'm going to give you some tactile feedback as well. So I want you to start tucking your tailbone. Here, here, brilliant mate, brilliant. Low back, mid back. Now tuck your chin right down. Now push my hands away. Good, chin right down for me, right down. Push, push, love it. That's so good. Now go back to the base. So release your tailbone, one vertebrae at a time. Low back, mid back, upper back. Now look right up to the sky, CJ, and bring your shoulder blades together, so relax them more. It's great control. And relax. How did that feel?
I felt it on the lower back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's obviously a core thing, isn't it? I could feel myself wobbling a bit, but in a planted position, I shouldn't really be wobbling a bit.
This exercise is called a chest supported row. It's going to be in your program quite a bit. So create that deep stretch, let the shoulder blades round at the bottom. Take a big breath in, breathe out, roll back. Brilliant, mate. Perfect. Keep that chin tucked a wee bit more. Let's go for 9 more. There you go. And you're using these muscles, not your biceps. Brilliant. Think about squeezing a pencil between your shoulder blades as you roll back. How did that feel for you?
Well, apart from realising my arms are really short and struggling to reach them, it was all right actually. I could feel it a bit on the lower back.
Yep.
But across here, I was okay with that. Although my left arm wasn't as controlled as my right arm. I could feel.
Felt that?
Yeah, I could feel that.
Any closing thoughts or any questions?
I'm all right at the moment. I think I've asked most of the questions. There's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
So I've got to sort of process it all. But no, it's been interesting. It's been eye-opening.
Within the app, we have got all of our programs fully outlined, all video demonstrations by me.
Okay.
I'm going to program exactly what you need to do on a daily and weekly basis.
Amazing.
Everything will be outlined. You'll then upload your results and your training session to the app. That then pulls through to me and I can see exactly what you're doing. We then also have our MyZone that we talked about.
Yeah.
So we can see what level of effort we're putting into each main session.
Yeah.
Where MyZone gets really effective is when we do our cardiovascular training.
Okay.
And I'll explain that as we go forward as well.
Brilliant. Jordan, that's been great. Thanks very much. Appreciate that. Cheers. There's a lot to take in. It's been a really interesting day. There's been some moments that have really hit home. The data out of the app and the biometrics, I was genuinely shocked to see where I am and the need to do something physically. But one of the overwhelming takeaways from the day has been the smarts, the support of Jordan and the guys at EAC, and the options around food that I'll have. I was genuinely worried that I'd be going almost cold turkey, rubber food, brown rice, but that's not the case at all. And then the other big takeaway, the support within the EAC team and the smarts. I think that's what's going to keep me going and mean the next 24 weeks is a success. It's been a good day.